Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Super excited to finally get around to doing my two-wheel drive pre-runner shootout. I got 3 different flavors of trucks here and we're gonna see which one ends up being the best. Starting out with, we'll start out here. I got my Kyosho Outlaw Rampage Pro. This is a aluminum IBeams kit I got off AliExpress, so this will be the Bronco R. And then this other Bronco here is a Proline IBeams kit that is based on an SCX-10-2 with a steel chassis. The aluminum kit has a carbon chassis, and the Kyosho, of course, is mostly stock. So I wanted to throw this into the mix. My main point with this test was to see which IBeams kit ended up working out better, and also which wheelbase and track width ended up being the better setup for these two. And I decided to throw the Kyosho into the mix too, just as another option if you wanted a cool like scale two-wheel drive pre-runner desert truck and you didn't want to get into the complicated builds with these IBeams kit, because these things are pretty involved to build and pretty difficult to get set up and dialed in properly. The Kyosho, on the other hand, comes as a mostly assembled kit. It's pretty much 60% assembled. You do have to do a couple things, and then you need to add all of your electronics, of course, but it comes with the body, comes with the wheels and tires. It's pretty much a complete kit. You just need to assemble it, add your electronics. These two are like complete custom builds. This is my playlist down below for the IBeams builds, and then I have a bunch of videos on the Kyosho if you want more details on those like individually. So we're gonna get out and run these in a little series of challenges. I'm gonna take these 3 to my local outdoor track, hit a couple jumps, do a few laps, see which one ends up being the fastest. I think I'm gonna break it down into 3 different locations. So I'm gonna do like a track location, I'm gonna do a like natural dirt terrain kind of setup, and then I'm also gonna get it out into the sand, which of course would be the most kind of realistic environment for desert trucks. And then we'll see, I'll do some scoring. I'm gonna base it like a 1 to 10 score, 10 being the best possible score. I think for today, I'm gonna get them out to the track and do like 4 different categories. We'll do a jumping category, see which one jumps the best. We'll do a overall handling, which one handles the best, easiest to control. I'll probably do something like 2 or 3 laps and get a lap time, like an average lap time for all 3 laps. And then I'll just do an overall fun to drive category, right? And we'll see, we'll total up the points and see which one ends up coming out on top. I am really curious between these two. So let's go over a couple of the specs first before we get out and run these things. Again, if you want more info on any of these builds, check out my playlist. I go into detail about all these builds, but let's just go over some basics here so we know what we're working with. Let's talk wheelbase, because there is quite a difference between these. The Kyosho is a 13.1, the Bronco R is a 12.8, and let's call this the OJ Bronco, I don't know, 12.5. Track width varies even more. The Kyosho is the narrowest at 9.75, Bronco R is 10.25, and the OJ Bronco here is 11. This is a short course based build. This is a short course size body, so this is the widest of them all. Tire size. The Kyosho is running more like a class 1 size tire. It's a 4.2 inch, and they're all about the same width, about 1.5 inches wide, but this is a 4.2. These two have the exact same tires on them, and they are a 4.5, so 4.5 inch. So a little bit of an advantage with a bigger tire. Now, as far as power for these trucks, the Kyosho is running 2S 5200 kV, Bronco R also 2S 5200 kV, exact same motor in these two. This Bronco is on 3S and it is running a 3200 kV. I may change that out in the future, but for now, 3200 kV. Gearing wise, the Kyosho ends up being the fastest. It's just the way it's geared right now, but ultimately, all 3 of these are limited in speed by their handling and suspension capabilities. Even though this one will probably do technically maybe 29 miles an hour on the road, when you get off-road, it's limited by its traction and its suspension. So they're all relatively close in terms of overall speed, but we're gonna see in the lap times how that plays out. If one has a significantly unfair advantage, I'll just go in and set my dual rate down on that one so I can't give it full throttle. So we'll see, we're gonna try to keep it even Steven here in terms of power. Suspension wise, Kyosho is running double wishbone front suspension, trailing arm rear. It does have a very different setup though, if you're not familiar with it. It has a motor on axle, so the entire motor and transmission assembly is mounted directly to the rear axle. There are advantages and disadvantages on that. I go into it more when I did my review videos on that truck. It's a cool setup, doesn't look the most scale, but it works extremely well. So this is different than the other two. These two, of course, are I-beam setup in the front and solid axle trailing arm rear suspension setup. These are very similar in that they're pretty much same geometry and same setup. The difference is this one uses an aluminum I-beams kit and a carbon fiber chassis. This one uses the Proline plastic I-beams kit and a steel chassis that's based on an SCX-10-2. So there are some significant differences there. These two have about the same amount of rear travel. They're both running Proline 5-inch travel, Proline Power Stroke XT shocks. This has all stock suspension. Haven't really messed around with any of the suspension on here. I did install some True aluminum trailing arms and front, upper, and lower A-arms on this one. So this does actually have some aluminum suspension components similar to what the Bronco R does. Now, in terms of weight, that does affect the weight. Adding aluminum to the Kyosho didn't add much weight, added like 94 grams, not really significant. But of course this one, being that I have custom brazed stainless bumper on here, and I did a fully custom stainless tube steel brazed rear tire carrier here, vertical tire carriers, and I'm running 2 spare tires on the back of this with batteries. Now, well, one other thing I'll mention, this front bumper is a tank. This was the first bumper that I custom made, and I made this thing out of solid rod. It's not tubing, it's solid rod. It was the only thing I could have available at the time, and it was kind of a practice bumper, but I like the way it turned out. It's just heavy, it's really heavy. So for the weights on these trucks, the Kyosho is the lightest, 6.9 pounds. The OJ Bronco here, 8.6 pounds. Bronco R, 9.4. So this is significantly heavier. Man, this is a little under 3 pounds heavier than the Kyosho here. So advantage, you know, there is an advantage to having some weight. In terms of acceleration, braking, yeah, lighter is better. Jumping, maybe lighter is better too. But in terms of traction, a little extra weight on these tires, it hooks up better. So we're gonna see. That's pretty much the tail of the tape here. And let's get out and run these things and see how they do. And let me know which ones you guys prefer. I did them all in the same kind of livery here. This was the first one I painted. This is Spastics paint. So this is a candy green with a silver backer. And I like it so much that I decided to do them all the same and kind of come up with a little race team livery here. My Falcon Off-Road race team. And yeah, let me know which ones you guys like. This one, of course, has the most work into it and the most scale detail. I will eventually be doing some more work to this and this. I want to do interiors on all of them. I'm probably going to do like custom tube steel interior with some seats and stuff. So we'll see. These are all kind of a work in progress, but for now, I think they're all at the point where I could get out and run them and just kind of see what direction I want to go with these two. So I need to get myself a little spinning carousel here, but I'll just give you guys a little once over here. Got the Bronco R. Mias Racing light bar on the bumper. Mias Racing pod lights here. Straighten that one out. And I got a nice little chase light mounted up there. Some extra details. Last but not least, the Kyosho Outlaw Rampage Pro. Again, mostly stock. Body comes clear, you gotta paint it yourself. Mias Racing pod lights up front. That's the stock bumper. They give you a plastic and a aluminum skid plate there. Stock wheels, stock tires. I did add a little LED chase light back here. I did some custom aluminum panels on here. Okay, let's get to the actual test here. Starting out with the 81 Bronco. Jumping category here. We'll get some slow-mo to really see what's going on. You can definitely notice some front end bounce. That seems to be kind of par for the course with these IBeams builds at least from what I've seen so far. The rear suspension is working a lot better, which of course enables you to hit higher jumps, but it just has so much more travel in the rear thanks to that double clutch shock tower setup and those 5-inch Power Stroke shocks. You know, compared to the front, I'm running a 90 mil shock up front, so you just don't get the same amount of travel. And I do need to experiment with different front shocks. I think just going with a much more robust front shock with a bigger diameter and a bigger piston inside is really going to help. So I have a few ideas, and when I find one that works, I'll just set up both trucks the same. Just ripping some corners here, checking out the handling. Of course, this truck being so wide, it just handles so nice. Barely, I think I may have rolled this truck over maybe once or twice the entire time. It just handles so nice, drifts around, just the right amount of traction on this truck. A lot of fun to drive. And go. Not trying to push it too hard because any mistakes like that one right there sliding out, it's going to cost me some time. You know, if you guys have ever driven an RC on a track, sometimes slow is fast, you know? 0 mistakes is faster. So for the laps segment of the test here, I just kind of did a shorter section of the track because the whole backside had a lot of puddles and mud on it. So just kind of ripped this little short course here. And I essentially just took the fastest lap from each truck, and then I also took the average of 10 laps, including some practice laps for each truck. So now I'm just going to rip this thing around and just kind of get a general, just overall fun to drive category here. Just going to rip it around, hit this dirt pile back here, drive it directly into a big rock. You know how that is. But just in general, just kind of like a little more of a bashing experience. I'll give it a little bit of a rating. So overall, the 81 Bronco, I gave it a 9 out of 10, which puts it into first place in terms of overall fun factor. Had a feeling going into this test that this one was going to be the most fun to drive. A lot of it has to do with the center of gravity. It is wider, so it has a lower center of gravity. It drifts around nice, has a good amount of power. I do need to gear this thing up more. It is the slowest out of all 3 trucks, due mainly to the gearing. It's the only one that's still retaining the full standard 3-gear crawler trans out of an axial. So it could definitely use some more gearing or a different KV motor, but I will change that out in the future. But overall, super fun truck to drive, puts it into first place, not overall, but just for this category. Onto the Bronco R. I gave this a 6 out of 10, which puts it into third place for jumping. It just gets a lot of rebound and bounciness up front due to everything being so rigid from the carbon chassis and aluminum beams. Just needs some more tuning as far as shocks go, and I think I want to change out to a steel chassis at some point just to get the clearance better. But anyway, it did okay. It's just not as good as the others, putting it into third place. For handling, I gave it a 7 out of 10, also puts it into third place, and you can see why. It's a bit top heavy. With that front suspension not working out perfectly, it does tend to drive a little bit bouncy and rolled over a decent amount. Of course, this does have the most scale detail. Those spare tires up high in the back with the extra steel tubing around there really add a lot of weight up high. So overall, third place, definitely some more tuning to do. It's not horrible, it's a lot of fun, but still has to be third. So onto the laps here, 16.5 for the Bronco R as far as a hot lap goes. They were all within a second of each other for hot laps. An average 17.94, also second place for the Bronco R. A little over 1 second different between all these trucks for average laps. So all a lot closer than I thought they were going to be. Again, the front suspension on this truck and the weight of it, I think combined, really kind of hurt the performance. I had to take it a little slower on the jumps, but I think the overall weight helped it with traction, which is why it kind of did okay. It was like middle of the road. All right, let's give this thing a rip for the fun factor. We did the jumps, we did kind of the handling test and the turn there. So overall fun factor, second place, not too bad for this truck. Again, they were all pretty close. I just feel like The 81 Bronco was definitely more fun overall to drive, just due to that added width, lower center of gravity. You could really push it a little bit harder without worrying about rolling it over quite so much. I think with some tuning, this truck can get a lot closer to the 81 Bronco. I really think swapping out the chassis is going to solve a lot of problems, so I'm definitely going to work on that in the near future. And then we'll get back out and retest them and see how they do. So I'm going to have an overall score, declare an overall winner at the end of this video. But if you're doing the math, you can probably sort of figure out what's going on here. Last but not least, the Kyosho. Man, it's weird driving all these back to back. I gotta say, they all look amazing. It's gonna be a tough decision. For jumping, the Kyosho definitely gets first place. It just jumps so nice and level due to that added weight of the motor on axle setup, and the suspension is tuned very nicely. Hard to find a fault in this. If you do over jump, you get a little bounce, but it's nothing too significant. Just do a couple non-slow-mos here. I can tell you guys already which truck is winning the jump competition. And it's this one. I feel like if I got a good enough run, I don't want to do it at the moment because I don't want to break anything. I feel confident enough in this truck where I could clear these doubles. Maybe I'll do it at the very end just to prove it. But I'm almost landing on the face of that one. And this thing has nice control, flies nice and flat. Found this to be the best jump here for these trucks. Whoa, went right at me. That had some bounce. Let's do that again, and then we'll get some slow-mo to see what's up with it. All right. In slow-mo here, you can really just see how well this truck handles the jumps. Just even if you get a little nosedive, it just soaks up the landing nicely. And it's just out of the box settings here. I didn't do any suspension tuning to this yet. All right, let's get a little handling test here on the Kyosho. Got to be a little careful, man. This likes to spin the tires. I don't think these tires have as much traction. I know these tires don't have as much traction. So yeah, tires and wheels would be my #1 upgrade for this truck. The wheels due to the beads popping off, and the tires just due to kind of a lack of traction with this tread design and compound. Onto the laps here. The Kyosho had the fastest hot lap at 15.9 and also the fastest average lap time at 17.09, putting it clearly in first place. Although not by a super wide margin. Again, they were within about a second of each other, all three trucks, in terms of fastest lap and average laps. But it's odd, the Kyosho kind of felt like I had to be the most delicate with its handling because it wanted to kind of spin out the most, but at the same time, it ended up being the fastest. It just didn't feel like it was the fastest. I would not have guessed it until I started actually monitoring the lap times here when I was doing the editing, and I was like, oh wow, I would not have guessed it on the day I was driving. I would have thought that the 81 Bronco was the fastest, but turns out the Kyosho beat it out. Again, not by that much, but it definitely beat it out. Okay, laps are done. Let's just give this thing a little rip around. Give it a overall fun factor score. Okay, so for the final portion of this challenge, fun factor for the Kyosho, I gave it a 7 out of 10, put it in third place. As much fun as it was to driving them all back to back to back really kind of made certain things stand out. And again, I felt like I had to be a little bit more careful with the Kyosho. I think it had a lot to do with just it being the lightest weight and having the least grippy tires. Just felt like it had really kind of delicate handling, and I just had to pay attention to it more. Couldn't push it as hard, couldn't drive it as aggressive, and of course that just comes across as being a little bit less fun. Was super fun to jump, but that just wasn't enough for it to win out overall in the fun factor score. They were all very close, and I think with some additional tuning, they're going to be really neck and neck. So I'll just mention again, the Kyosho has the highest gearing out of all of these trucks because out of the box, it is geared for speed. The other ones are a crawler-based transmission, so I really had to do a lot of mods to get them up to speed. That being said, though, this thing was almost too fast, too much wheel speed, so I did drop my dual rate down to 75% for the entire test, and then later, like around this time, I dropped it down to 70, and it did get even a little more controllable. So right here, I'm kind of trying to attempt to do this double here. That would not have made it. I don't know where I got to hit it to clear it, but I don't have the traction. You know what I'm saying? Like when I land in that section right there, I can't gas it enough to really get a good drive. I don't think. Oh, I mean, you know, another 10 inches, I would have had it. You know what it is? I know what it is. You guys know what it is? I need to roll these first two, gas it down the backside of that one, and then we're gonna see what happens. Oh my God. Still don't know. Still don't know if I could do that. Oh my God. You know what? It's very close. I gotta stop before I break something here. Let's see. I wonder how close this could get to clearing that double. Definitely has better traction. I don't think it has the speed. No. So I did take all three of these trucks out for another round just to kind of get everything fresh in my mind in terms of handling and what I thought of them and just overall scoring. And they were all great. So really, really happy with the way this turned out. Had a lot of fun doing it. Yeah, let's get to the final results here. Okay, so let's get down to it and declare a winner here for round one. And it shouldn't really be surprising. This is kind of what I predicted, but the Kyosho Outlaw Rampage Pro did win this challenge, not by as much as I thought it was going to. And go figure, you know, Kyosho with decades of experience can build a better RC than I can. So that's to be expected, but they were very close. And especially with these two Beams builds being crawler based, pretty surprising how well they did against something that is kind of designed by a big manufacturer and has been around for a long time and has seen improvements over the years, and it's pretty well dialed. So this is kind of, I only included the Kyosho just kind of as a benchmark, right? Just to measure these other two trucks in terms of performance, just to see how close they can get to something that is kind of a known factor here. You know, I mean, this truck's been around for a long time. A lot of people know how this thing drives and how well it works. So to compare these against that kind of gives you an idea. Next up, second place, the 81 Bronco here. Yeah, overall, a lot of fun to drive, and I had a feeling it was gonna be the case because this is the widest track width. It's also decently heavy compared to the Kyosho, so it got some good grip on the top. This is a really fun truck to drive. That wide stance just keeps this thing planted, has a very low center of gravity because of that, and it just drives very nice. This one definitely won in terms of the fun factor overall. And then we'll get on to the Bronco R. So finally up is the Bronco R in third place. I'm just doing a voiceover here. I had a little bit of a mic issue, so I'm just gonna talk over myself here, make it a little bit easier. But third place for the Bronco R, and it was a close third place. Not that far off, and really just the problems I had with this build from the very start with the links not really aligning properly in the front due to the chassis spacing, you know, where the links kind of crash into each other a little bit in one spot. And it just limits the front travel, and that's a big issue with this truck because when they do hit together, it's mainly the one beam hits the pivot mount on the other beam. and it just creates like a really hard bottom out situation, and it limits the up travel. So of course that's going to affect the overall handling for everything, not just jumping, but just handling any kind of rough terrain. It's going to bottom out more. And I think that can be solved by just changing out the chassis. I'm going to give it a try. I think it's worth doing. Everything else about the truck is really good. The added weight from, you know, all of the steel tubing for the tire carrier and the extra 2 spare tires on the back, you know, kind of takes away from the performance a little bit. But look, these are not really just purely performance-based trucks, really going for that scale look and that scale driving experience. And the Bronco R really does have that scale driving feel to it, and it looks incredible. So as much as I hated to put it in third right now, just based on the performance, it did kind of take away from it a little bit. But it's something that I'm just going to work on and eventually, hopefully, solve and get it up to a little bit better handling performance. So there you have it. First place, second place, third place. You're going to get these out into the sand very soon, hopefully this week, if it ever stops raining here, and give these guys another test. I'm going to resist the urge to change anything on these right now at this moment. Possibly after this next test, I'll make some minor upgrades to each one and then get out and challenge them again, right? Probably just tires, wheels and tires on this. Shocks, lighter front bumper on this, front shocks on this. I don't know, there was something else on here I wanted to change up too, but we'll get into that in another video. That's going to do it, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you've stayed with me this long. Thank you. That's pretty amazing. Let me know which one you guys prefer, like viewer's choice, right? I'm really curious to see which one you like better. They're all great, I gotta say. You know, if you're looking for something kind of easy and less money, Kyosho is the way to go. The IBeams kits are great. I would say, if anything, don't buy the full aluminum kit with the carbon chassis. I don't think it's worth it. If you want to go aluminum, buy just the front suspension aluminum kit. I think it's like 70, 80 bucks on AliExpress. I've even seen it on Amazon. And build it with a steel chassis. Go and get like a Hot Racing steel chassis or an original SCX 10.2 chassis. They are pricey though. Hot Racing you could find like half the price. And I know everything fits well on that. And I would do that. I would do steel chassis, aluminum IBeams, get some good front shocks, double clutch long travel kit on the rear, and you'll be most of the way there. Figure out a body and stuff. Run it. I would try to run it on the wider side, like around that 10-inch mark or wider, depending on how you set up. And that's going to be it. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned, and I'll catch you in the next video. Later.